When people hear the word millionaire, they often picture luxury cars, private jets, and a life free from stress. But psychologically, becoming a millionaire is rarely about lifestyle first. It's about mindset long before it's about money. Most self-made millionaires develop a different relationship with risk early on. That doesn't mean they're reckless. It means they're comfortable with uncertainty. While many people wait for guarantees, they move with calculated belief. They understand that growth almost always involves discomfort, whether that's starting a business, investing money, or stepping into a competitive field. What separates them psychologically is tolerance for delayed gratification. Millionaires tend to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. They're willing to look behind temporarily. While others upgrade cars, spend impulsively, or chase quick wins, they often reinvest quietly. That discipline compounds over time. Another core trait is ownership mentality. Instead of blaming circumstances, they ask, "What can I control?" Even in difficult situations, they search for leverage points. This doesn't mean they ignore systemic factors. It means they refuse to build an identity around helplessness. Psychologically, that's powerful. They see problems as puzzles, not verdicts. Obstacles are data. Failure isn't identity, it's feedback. Millionaires also tend to think in probabilities rather than emotions. When others react impulsively to fear or excitement, they zoom out. They assess trends, patterns, and long-term outcomes. Emotional regulation becomes a financial advantage. But here's something important. Many millionaires are not flashy. In fact, a large percentage live below their means. Their wealth is often quiet. They don't feel the need to signal status constantly because their sense of security comes from ownership, not approval. At its core, the psychology of a millionaire isn't about loving money. It's about loving leverage, control, and freedom. And those are deeply psychological desires. Another psychological pattern you'll notice in many millionaires is how they think about time. For them, time is not just something to spend, it's something to allocate strategically. While most people focus on hourly wages or monthly paychecks, millionaires tend to focus on scalable effort. They constantly ask, "How can I make this decision benefit me more than once?" This is where leverage becomes central. Instead of trading time directly for money forever, they look for systems, businesses, investments, digital assets, teams that can produce income without requiring their constant presence. That shift in thinking changes everything. It requires patience at first, because building systems is harder than earning a paycheck. But psychologically, they're wired to think long-term. There's also a strong internal locus of control. Millionaires typically believe their actions meaningfully influence outcomes. Even when luck plays a role, and it often does, they focus on positioning themselves for opportunity. They network intentionally. They learn continuously. They increase their skill sets. They prepare before the opportunity appears. That preparation mindset is underrated. Another key trait is comfort with being misunderstood. Many millionaires make decisions that look strange in the short term. They might live modestly while earning well. They might invest aggressively when others are fearful. They might work intensely during years when their peers prioritize comfort. Psychologically, they're less driven by social validation and more driven by internal metrics. And failure? They expect it. Instead of seeing failure as humiliation, they see it as tuition. Every mistake becomes a lesson that sharpens their judgment. This resilience isn't accidental. Over time, repeated exposure to risk builds emotional endurance. Interestingly, many millionaires also guard their mental environment carefully. They limit negativity, avoid constant comparison, and choose circles that challenge them. Their psychology isn't just about earning more, it's about protecting clarity. Because ultimately, wealth often follows clarity. Another powerful psychological trait common among millionaires is their relationship with learning. They rarely believe they've arrived. Instead, they operate with what psychologists call a growth mindset. Skills can be developed, intelligence can expand, strategy can improve. That belief alone keeps them moving while others plateau. Many millionaires read consistently, seek mentors, or study industries deeply before entering them. They understand that knowledge reduces uncertainty, and when you reduce uncertainty, you increase confidence in decision-making. Over time, that confidence compounds, just like money does. There's also a fascinating emotional pattern: detachment from ego when it comes to numbers. To most people, money is emotional. It's tied to identity, status, self-worth. But many millionaires learn to see money as a tool, not proof of value. That mental separation allows them to make rational choices instead of pride-driven ones. For example, they can walk away from deals that don't make sense, even after investing time. They can admit when an idea isn't working. They can pivot without feeling personally attacked by the outcome. That flexibility protects them from catastrophic losses. Another psychological difference is how they interpret pressure. High responsibility doesn't scare them in the same way it might scare others. Instead of shrinking under pressure, they often expand. Stress becomes fuel. Deadlines become focus points. Big stakes sharpen their thinking. But this doesn't mean they don't feel fear. They do. The difference is they don't let fear dictate decisions. They've trained themselves to act despite discomfort. That's a subtle but critical distinction. You'll also notice that many millionaires build habits obsessively. Morning routines, financial tracking, goal reviews, health discipline. These are not random. Habits reduce decision fatigue. And when you reduce decision fatigue, you preserve mental energy for bigger moves. Psychologically, their life becomes structured in a way that supports consistent progress. And consistency, more than brilliance, is what builds long-term wealth. At the deepest level, the psychology of a millionaire often revolves around freedom. Not just financial freedom, but psychological freedom. The ability to choose where to live, how to work, who to spend time with, and what problems to focus on. Money becomes a vehicle for autonomy, and autonomy is one of the strongest human motivators. Many millionaires are driven less by luxury and more by control over their time and environment. They want options. They want flexibility. They want the power to say no. That desire shapes their decisions years before the money shows up. There's also a quiet tolerance for loneliness in the journey. Building significant wealth often requires periods of intense focus, sacrifice, and separation from the mainstream path. Friends may not understand the long work hours. Family may question risky investments. Social life may shrink temporarily. Psychologically, millionaires are often comfortable walking alone for stretches of time. Another overlooked trait is emotional neutrality toward comparison. While many people measure themselves against neighbors, coworkers, or social media peers, millionaires tend to measure progress against their own past performance. The competition is internal. Am I improving? Matters more than am I impressing? That internal scoreboard protects mental stability. Interestingly, many self-made millionaires also experience heightened responsibility once wealth is achieved. Instead of relaxing permanently, they often feel increased pressure to manage, protect, and grow what they've built. Wealth doesn't eliminate psychological weight, it transforms it. And here's something human. Not every millionaire is happy. Money amplifies who you already are. If someone has discipline, money scales it. If someone has anxiety, money can scale that too. Wealth solves financial stress, but it doesn't automatically solve identity struggles, relationships, or purpose. That's why the healthiest millionaire psychology includes balance, strong relationships, physical health, self-awareness, and meaning beyond numbers. Because in the end, becoming a millionaire isn't just a financial process, it's a psychological transformation. And the money is simply the visible result of an invisible mindset built over time.